This video is a work of satire and not meant to be taken seriously, even if the majority of information provided about the discussed characters is based on fact. Just relax, enjoy, and don't get in a fuss over characters from a Japanese visual novel series owned by Spike Chunsoft and published by NIS America, with anime adaptations licensed and distributed by Universal Japan and Funimation. Everything except for my own commentary is not owned by me. Anyways, enjoy the video. Within this great wide world of ours, most of us have learned a very obvious message told to us for generations. The world is a fucked up place. However, within many of the fucked up things in the world, there's a certain thing that many do enjoy, whether they possess it themselves or desire it. The female body. Nothing is quite as grand or great as a developed woman, especially if they are capable developed women. A developed woman can represent several things: a mature personality, a beautiful airhead, a strong mother, and of course, having a beautiful body. And when it comes to works that have an unbelievable amount of these gorgeous females, Danganronpa is among the best of them. With such a great variety of women available, ranging from your average dame to European princesses, muscle-bound Amazons, small girls, and yes, even traps. Everyone has something to love. But I am not here to discuss which is the best of the best, but rather, who has the best of the breasts. So I need your attention just for this moment, whether you're a desiring man or an interested woman herself, in which case, thank you for watching. To understand who stacks up with who racks up. It is simple, informative, and most likely inaccurate. Danganronpa Ultimate Bust Size Guide. For ease of understanding, this guide will be separated into tiers to give a better idea of exactly where most of these women lie. And of course, it's always best to go from lowest to highest, which in this case is flattest to roundest. So let us start with a set of children, or at least young women who look to be children. Welcome to the A-Cup tier, where we have a few of the least developed characters in the cast. It's alright though, since none of them are even fully grown yet, and even have the potential to become as endowed as everyone else, as a certain small blonde child proves. And that small child happens to be the flattest of them all, Hiyoko Saionji. Hiyoko Saionji has the smallest size of them all, with a record low of 64 centimeters. Even compared to other, younger characters, she is still the smallest. However, considering her talent as one who dances, the fact that she doesn't have to deal with large lumps adding weight to her chest must make her job much easier for her, at least until her eventual growth spurt, but I'm sure by then she would be supporting the kimono in other ways. While information about her may be unavailable in an understandable language as of yet, numbers are comprehensible in any language, so using technological wizardry, we are able to see into the future to find the widths of girls from games not even released yet. The first of these subjects is quite fitting too. The very mysterious girl who, just like Hiyoko, may very well be older than she looks. This is Himiko Umeno, the ultimate magician, spelling out her size at 68 centimeters. With how popular little witches have become in the land of Japan, it's nice to see Danganronpa's take on it. Magic is quite a complex topic, and whether or not she can actually use magic is still a big mystery. But what does this have to do with her bust though? Well, that I do not know. But if magicians are able to warp bodies, who says she is not able to do it herself? Alas, I do not have enough information to go deep into this little witch, but word says Netflix has a great show about a school of girls just like her, and even a bewitching woman who she could very well be in the future. Finally, finishing off the A tier, we have a small girl who, despite not having much in the way of her body, she does indeed have brains. Chihiro Fujisaki hacks in at 70 centimeters, surprisingly large given the category. Wait, you're telling me this isn't a girl? That's preposterous! A weak boy? Blasphemy! He's bigger than all the other girls! Males can't do that! She might be a he, but he's still a capable woman by my books. And if he's an expert programmer, who's to say he can't help develop a program that makes attractive girls, even if he isn't one himself? he can create an infinite amount of his own wives. Gets with that kind of person, and you'll be surrounded by a group of digital women all day. Huh, the dream. The tables have been cleaned, and the plates are clear. But on our journey, we have now uncovered our first bumps on the road. Or rather, bumps on the body. And not the kind of disgusting, sickly bumps, but rather women who are in the beginning of their development, or just didn't get the luck of the draw. Of course, not having a large chest isn't a bad thing. Sometimes it can get in the way of things you do. While the B-Cup tier may not have the perfect size to both impress the common person and do their daily activities, at least they have something to show, even if it isn't much. And they don't have to deal with a part of their body flying around all the time without restraints either. An alright size. Not the perfect balance, but not the worst either. The woman to start us off here is yet another one from the future, and a surprising inversion of an archetype we've seen plenty of times before, but is our first time seeing it here. It seems that dark skin will equal a fairly well-endowed body in the world of Danganronpa. Yet this girl seems to defy that. Anji Yonaga may not be one from mainland Japan, but she does not succumb to the power of darker skin, with a surprisingly small measurement of 70 centimeters. Despite this, she still feels fit to wear an open jacket and bikini, and certain scenes from the lab show she may be packing more than we expect. Either way, she certainly isn't afraid to show off her mesmerizing iron tan to the world, and by showing so much, it makes one wonder if she's hiding anything else under the bikini. Only the gods of her island would know. The next one is probably the most unfortunate girl of all. Despite being a fully grown adult woman, Saiko Kimura got the short end of the stick of the chest, with a measly size of only 74 centimeters. Of course, this wouldn't be of much trouble to her, considering having a large lump in front of her at all times would greatly hamper her chemical work. So in this case, she might actually be more lucky than not. But combined with her raggedy hairstyle, dead stare, and an interesting fashion sense, including braces, it seems like Saiko was made to be as unappealing as possible upon first sight. Yet somehow, she's still charming in that way, proving women don't need to always be beautiful to be good. She might even be one of the cooler looking females of them all. And with the kind of things we see her capable of doing, who's to say she can't fix her problems, or yours, with a simple potion. If she can turn an entire class of teenagers wild, imagine all the fun her science could add to fun times. Quite interesting indeed. Just be careful about eating sweets around her. This next girl proves you don't need to be busty to be popular. However, for how small her chest is, her ego is certainly the biggest. Ibuki Miyoda is the smallest of all the grown teenage killing game participants, only coming in at 76 centimeters. Surprisingly, however, despite how lewd she can become, she does not seem to mind this. Or does she actually care about her chest at all? Think about it. When she hangs out with all the other girls to make sweets, she makes a model of herself with larger breasts. Afterward, upon seeing some of the most beautiful girls in their swimsuits, she states she is going to
time to pump these puppies full of silicone!
Is she secretly insecure about her small chest? Surely, the rest of her pops out enough already, but does her bust need a pop as well? With the pop of her chest, add something to her pop music. She is a pop musician after all, and if you pop out more, you'll be noticed more. So, is she secretly jealous of all these girls? Wanting to have a better body because she's so thin and relatively small? Does she want to look sexy while singing energetic songs? She has an armor of positivity and a field of energy around her, so no one can really tell. Either way, even if her chest may not impress, she seems to like all. I think she would be delighted to have a well-endowed friend. In contrast to Ibuki, the next female isn't quite so confident about herself. In fact, she could very well be her polar opposite. This is Toko Fukawa, acclaimed author of several romance novels and part-time serial killer. But alas, while she might write stories that could consist of saucy content, Toko herself does not seem to be quite as capable as her own characters. With a measurement of 79 centimeters, you would think she could possibly be surprisingly large, given her figure, but oh no, that may not be the case. What we see of her in the games makes it very obvious she is not one with a decent size, and particularly with comments she makes towards other, more gifted girls, she is very insecure about her small chest, or just herself in general. She obviously isn't one to care about her well-being, though it's very possible that she could have just a little more weight than the average girl. If you're going to tell me she's only 104 pounds, well, sometimes people lie on papers. And seeing how she is a master of writing herself, she may have put in the wrong information to fool everyone. No, she must be a bit heavier than that. But in the end, who really knows? And besides, while her chest may not impress, there is quite the bonus if you happen to be into those known as crazies. If you happen to get friendly with her other side, let's just say you'll be having a lot of slippery fun with the tongue. The case of Toko might be a sticky one, but if she's a polar opposite to Ibuki, then let's take a 180-degree turn towards another polar opposite. Bukuro Ikusaba, the 16th student who lurks in the shadows, watch out for her, packs a fine measurement of 80 centimeters, which would make you think she's on par with some of the girls in the C cup tier. However, she is still present on the B cup tier. Why, you ask? Because unlike most of the women in this series, she's actually quite fit, being a soldier and all. And soldiers are not skinny sticks like Ibuki. Her chest fat may not be one to be impressed by, but as a girl who survived through the rough conditions of war zones throughout the world, Bukuro may very well be one of the hottest girls in the series. If you're into fit ladies, then she makes up for her small chest fat with pure chest muscle, and that makes penetrating her barriers all the better. Answer the call of duty and give this girl a hug. The bumps on the road have now started to become bigger. Small hills are formed, big enough to get a good grasp, but not so big as to be a major intrusion upon one's journey. For a woman's chest, this is what we call the C cup tier. Is at this stage when someone achieves a perfect balance of beauty and utility. While I myself may not consider it the best size. On the other side, I'm sure not many would want to have anything larger. If a man were to have a good experience with a woman in this tier, it would have something to do within the upper regions, and within this equilibrium, some of the most interesting girls happen to be a part of it. So then, on to those women. We begin with someone who we've somehow managed to get a lot of information on, despite not really being around for that long. In fact, thanks to the power of a man's nut and some technological digging, this is the only one we've seen completely in the nude, baring her chest to all the world. She may not know this, but she could possibly enjoy her body being presented to all in pristine photographic detail. Just like her own photos, Mahiru Koizumi certainly is a beauty. Coming in at 77 centimeters, she's actually more gifted than you would expect, given the previous two we discussed. While she may not be packing in any extra weight or muscle as far as we know, given our extensive information on her, we can safely determine she belongs within this tier. Of course, it doesn't matter whether or not she's packing an average size or not, because she's a photographer. And how was that important? Well, pornography is about three things: drawn art, photography, and videography. Now, if Mahiru is a photographer, just imagine what kind of attractive photos she can make. And after an incident involving her and some of her housemates getting hit by a lust bug, inside of herself she even calls the act of sexy selfies artsy. As a man who appreciates these sexy selfies myself, I can only imagine what kind of expert knowledge she must have on the topic, or what kind of things she could think up for others to do. Either way, it'll be something to frame on your wall, on your phone, or just enjoy yourself too, if you have nothing else. Yet another lady from the future, Maki Harukawa, is certainly an interesting person. But is her bust interesting? Not really. She has the same 77 centimeter measurement as Mahiru, but probably due to not being stuck on an island, doesn't show much skin. Although I guess that isn't much of an issue to her, being very quiet and antisocial. Having a large bust would make it very difficult to not be ignored, but thanks to her average size and uninteresting attire, her bust does not make her noticeable at all. However, for those who happen to be a fan of Zettai Ryoiki, or the gap between one's socks and thighs, she certainly gives something in that department. I can imagine her having quite the enjoyable posterior, so to speak. It does make one wonder if she wears similar outfits during her day job as a caregiver. She's probably so modest because she doesn't want children to wonder about the amazing world of lewdness. Of course, we could see her in any sort of situation very soon, so maybe all this speculation is simply for naught. Finally measuring up to the most wide member of the B tier, we have a lady who wears very wide clothes as well. In fact, she may not even appear to be what most consider sexual at all. Celestia Ludenberg, otherwise known as Yasuhiro Taiko for those who want to get more personal, is a vampirish, very elegant lady with an affinity for all of the dark things within the world, except for the white brims on her dresses or the gleaming teacups of her potties. She almost looks like a ghost with how pale she is. But isn't that impressive for a lady to go this far? Oh yes, her chest. Sawas boasts a size of 80 centimeters, an alright size, but if anything, her chest is the least interesting thing about her. Really, why worry about the chest when the rest of her is so interesting? I imagine she must be into some quite devious things. Ifumi Yamada seems to have had the right idea. Without the elaborate dress, she still strikes as a very cold, but seemingly nice girl if you get close to her. And her legs are quite fine, if I say so myself. That seems to be a trend among those in the C tier. While not being very impressive on the upper body, the lower parts seem to be more on the appealing side. I imagine having a skirt as big as that could lead to all kinds of scenarios. I'll just leave you to imagine what kind of situations you could get with someone like her. A very popular one this next woman is, and quite controversial too. In fact, just like Setas, she might be the one who's more capable in a relationship too. Kyoko Kirigiri stands with an 82 centimeter chest, and while her usual outfit does nothing to show this, just like all the other girls here, her best parts are actually away from her chest. In fact, her whole body may just be made up of a great balance of everything. Great legs with clothes that tend to accentuate them, a very nice behind if her towel crease is to be believed, and despite only having C-cups, still gives a very nice view when wearing a bikini. It's possible she could be even colder than Maki, but that would only make getting close to her all the sweeter, and who doesn't like intelligent women? Makoto might have reserved her already, but either way she is one sight to behold, even if I myself am not that interested in her. The last member of the tier, as of now, is certainly the most confident of the bunch. And by confident, I mean with her body. With a nice 83 centimeters, Sayaka Maizono adds to what is already a very cute-looking idol / possible backstabber. She may even be considered a little more than average, but not by much. However, that extra couple centimeters definitely makes her chest region more significant than the rest of the girls, as certain promotional materials prove. She even has surprisingly good pinups given her size. It does make one curious as to whether or not she uses this to her advantage in the idol industry, but it certainly helps her popularity, I imagine. Ibuki is probably jealous that someone like her exists with such a body, not that we ever see them interact, of course. Being an idol, her voice is also quite heavenly too, so just imagine the kind of noises you could get out of her. If she were alive, I'm pretty sure Makoto would be more than happy to give this girl some special time often. With such a cute face, it's always nice to pair that with a decent chest. Now, if only more fans could make material, I would be very happy. Ah yes, finally we are getting to what some would consider the good stuff. We've started to have a bit of a bumpy ride with those C's, but now, finally, we are reaching some high mountains. Although we are not quite there yet, there's still one more step to go. These next girls don't exactly have the biggest of the big, but are quite close to reaching that point. While the comfort of the sea lives might start to be fading away, it's quite easy to tell that most of these girls are gifted just from a quick glance. Beauties with a proper push to look mature and charm others with their wiles. We have arrived at the D tier. The first woman to grace us with her presence is one as graceful as her chest. In fact, out of everyone here, she's probably the kindest of them all. The princess from the Novoselic Kingdom, Sonia Nevermind, starts off the D tier with a nice 83 centimeters. Just big enough to give the impression that yes, she really is as beautiful as she looks, even in her bust. In keeping with being a gentlewoman, she never really tries to expose too much of herself. She has the dignity and respect of one befitting her position, and does not falter easily to desperate men. Even when the rest of the girls came to meet up, wearing skimpy swimsuits and the like, Sonia comes in with the most logical clothing choice of all, a wetsuit. Yet, even with just her head exposed, she still keeps the grace of a princess. Thankfully, the suit gives us a good impression of her bust, giving her that little extra leg, up to be deserving of the D tier. Of course, all this is without mentioning that she could possibly be one of the more experienced women of the bunch. While we do not truly know for sure, certain statements and actions do hint that this princess may be less innocent than she seems, being able to resist the after effects of aphrodisiacs, and claiming she isn't a virgin able to give blood. It certainly is a royal conspiracy. But is it true? Possibly. I have to imagine creating clothing is a much more difficult task than it may initially seem, especially if you're creating something specifically for women that fits with their body well. However, if you're the ultimate cosplayer, then that is not a problem at all. Now imagine being that and also being a well-endowed woman. She must have a very interesting fan base, that's for sure. Tsumugi Shirogane measures herself at 83 centimeters, equal to the last couple of subjects, but similar to Sonia, she's packing more than meets the eye. Although we are unable to get a perfect estimate of her body, as we still do not have her home game and understandable wounds yet. One exclusive scoop from an inside source shows us that yes, indeed, she is clearly wielding a size that qualifies as a D cup. And for someone who creates and wears cosplays often, he certainly has the body to support it. Now, I only wonder how she looks in those outfits. Could they be as revealing as many like her in real life, or simply gorgeous outfits that catch the eye but not the front tail? She's one of the most mysterious of the many girls we have yet to see with our non-Japanese eyes. I just wish we get to see her in some of her outfits. With so many beauties around, you might want to have someone who's just a bit less good at one specific thing. In fact, they may be normal in every single way possible, except for one thing, their breast. Ah yes, Komaru Naegi, the ultimate nothing, yet still wielding a size of 84 centimeters. Fairly impressive given the rest of her is so painfully average, yet also quite adorable. I mean, there's not much to really say about Komaru. I guess if you've ever thought her brother was cute but would rather get with a female version of him instead, Komaru is your best option. Unfortunately though, there's nothing else to really say about her, aside from being prone to panty shots and having a quite nice posterior. She's a completely average cute girl, but all the more refreshing for it, and also one of the best girls within Danganronpa. The next girl is very unique as she's not even the only one here to possess her talent. The difference with this one though, aside from being as young as most of the other women, is that she can do far more than her job would normally entail. So if you want a serious, calculating, and multi-talented maid on your side, then Kirumi Tojo is your mistress. While she has a measure comparable to Komaru at 84 centimeters, she is anything but average compared to the Ultimate Hope's sister. Excellent at sports, cleaning, and protecting, you would think she's well versed in all aspects of every type of maid. Yes, even those types of maids. But rather than being a woman of late 20s to early 30s age, you have a very tall and flexible housekeeper, who rarely even keeps houses, at least I assume. Very little of her life has been translated yet, so I can only make the slightest of assumptions. That does not stop me from appreciating her appearance, however, as she sports a style I'm quite fond of, known by those who document cliches as peekabangs. I'm a simple man, and when I see that hairstyle, my heart pumps just a little bit more than usual. It's one of the most attractive a woman can have, and Kirumi has quite a lot of my preferences. Of course, that doesn't mean she's the best girl of them all, far from it in fact, but that just means there's so much more to see on this journey. A final member of the D tier may not even be D at all, but in regards to her first appearance and her measurements, that size seems more statistically likely than putting her a tier above. Either way, you cannot deny that this is one of the very best girls of them all, even if she may not look much like it from the outset. Peko Pekoyama is a sword-wielding bombshell with a surprising measurement of only 85 centimeters. Those 85 tend to fluctuate depending on the medium you view her in, however. In her original game, Peko doesn't really show much to impress upon first viewing. Sure, she has a jet-black schoolgirl outfit that gives an idea of her curves, but just how much does she keep under there? Upon seeing her out of it, however, you are greeted with a lean, athletic servant that looks absolutely excellent with her hair down. Some might be interested by the pigtails, but those are more the signs of a child to me. Seeing the long hair, a chest that pops out almost as much as the sword on her back, intimidating red eyes surrounded by glasses that only accentuate them more, and of course, the smooth, dripping wet skin that completes this package. As a more reactionary man would say, God damn. Somehow though, this is not even all. It turns out during her despair days, Peko grew even more, or at least it looks that way, as she binds her chest as a warrior like Hood would, demonstrating the width and growth of her breast over time. It's truly a sight, yet seen for so little time. I'd like to see even more if I could, but alas, this series does not work that way. Fortunately, Peko was only the beginning of the very best girls of them all, as we enter the tier where many of my favorites lie. Can you see the lights? The holy lights, only seen by those who travel past the bumps of B's, the hills of C's, and the heights of D's. This light is a sign that we have reached the greatest tier of them all. Not too big and not too small, just the right size. The Goldilocks zone of the solar system that is breasts. Only a single letter can change so much. We have landed at the double D tier. Those slight handfuls of D have grown into soft, alluring bosoms, remarkable enough to be noticed from a distance, big enough to have plenty of fun with, and softer than the finest pillows, yet not big enough to be a disgusting, oversized sight. These are the finest chests of them all, the greatest girls to accompany them, giving proof that the best women are the most gifted. But despite all of this, even when merely catching sight of them, one thing is deniable. Those are some nice fucking titties. We've seen several girls who have had the same size before, but they've all been in groups of 2 or 3 so far. Alas, that is not the case with our next few. In fact, we've come across the best measurements of all, a fine 88 centimeters. 5 women strong, it's clear that whoever thought up and designed these characters truly loves this size, and he is definitely in the right. So let's go through each of them, one by one. A surprising case that's one of a kind, yet at the same time, proving that those within the Forsaken A-Cup tier can still grow to become up there with the best of the best. Hyoko Sayonji was certainly gifted among the fascinating time of puberty, gaining a massive extra 22 centimeters on her chest, going from a record low of 64 centimeters to a very nice 88 centimeters. I must imagine that the extra push could both help and hinder her talent, but it goes to show that even the smallest brats can grow to become busty beauties given the time. Her fanbase must have been shocked upon her growth, while a whole new group of fans came together to see her performances. While we never really get to see much of her outside the kimono during this time, a simple look will give you everything you need to know about this newly endowed beauty. We've seen our share of busty babes from the future already, but the next one is certainly the most interesting, if not for her interest, but her disinterest. Tinko Chapashira is the first of our many femme fatales who will kick your ass while rocking nice racks, definitely demonstrating the power of boobs of steel. Legends say that the bustiest women in works tend to be the strongest, otherwise meaning that the size of their chest is equal to their power. Tenko definitely shows this off with her talent of ultimate Aikido master, beating down degenerate men who ogle at her for her chest and her cute looks. And that is quite unfortunate if you are a man looking to get with her, as she will no doubt beat you down without warning for the smallest offenses. Thankfully, we will be able to experience her life as another woman, so we do not have to concern ourselves with the troubles of the opposite sex. It does make you wonder, would Tenko be into women? It's a possibility, and a very steamy one at that, and I can imagine her enjoying it a lot. But, like everyone else from the soon-coming V3, we don't know much else about her. At least we can assure ourselves that within that world we will be able to become her friend, thanks not to being one of those degenerate males. Everything must start from somewhere. If it weren't for a single point of origin, nothing would exist. When it comes to large-breasted women in Danganronpa, this origin point takes a very interesting form. The original busty-tanned athletic bombshell, and one of only 2 well-endowed girls in Danganronpa 1, Aoi Asahina. Her chest is actually so notable, she's the only girl in the entire series to have full measurements available, with a bust measurement of 88 centimeters, a waist measurement of 57 centimeters, and a hip measurement of 84 centimeters. Use that information how you will, but it only demonstrates how Aoi really is the busty mascot of the series. In fact, I consider her to be the 3rd hottest girl in the series. Even before meeting her in DR1, her beauty is outright stated, and considering her talent would have to show quite a lot of skin, or at least wear clothing that perfectly conforms to her body. It's no surprise that Aoi is as well known for her body as she is for her swimming. And really, why would you not want her? Aside from being a tanned babe who stands out from most of the other girls, she's very kind, wears fairly nice clothing, and loves donuts. And despite her potentially unhealthy obsession for them, she only weighs 110 pounds. I guess swimming does a lot to burn fat. Even when wearing a business suit, she looks hella fine. And when she takes off to be left with shorts and a tank top, absolute perfection. And that's really what Aoi is. One of the best girls you could ever ask for, and one of the very best in Danganronpa, ranking as the number 3 hottest for me myself. You might be asking, if she's number 3, then who could possibly be better? Well, let's continue on, shall we? Unfortunately, for every bit of perfection you get, there has to be someone who is the exact opposite. That's not to say the next woman isn't fine as well, as she's definitely up there in the rankings. But when it comes to personality, she can only be described with one word: bitch. But, as some might say, that bitch is hot. And that is quite the accurate description, as Ruruka Ando is a confectioner whose only passions are for candy and her boyfriend. Of course, befitting someone who would make candy, her outward appearance seems to be as sweet as the gobstoppers she mixes up, but inside is a woman as cold and hard as said gobstoppers. It's funny, as creating candy seems like the kind of occupation for a woman who would be far more lewd, but in this case the candy that Ruruka creates are more akin to that of drugs. So, does she have aphrodisiac candy, or other kind of sweets that can increase certain areas of performance? Her former friend Saika was able to make potions with that effect, so I wouldn't doubt Ruruka has tried some things with Izayoi before. I really have to wonder what his life must be like, being an excellent blacksmith and in a relationship with a girl who can create highly addictive treats. Unfortunately, even with someone like him, she's still prone to backstabbing if the need arises. So I cannot say she's nearly as good as the rest of the girls in terms of personality, but as an inverse of a popular confectionery, first she's sweet, then she's sour. Sour Patch Bitches not coming to a store near you. One of the most popular and infamous genres present within the Japanese game industry is eroge, or visual novels that contain nudity and/or sex. However, the purpose of these games is usually the eventual nude scenes that you will gain later on. Sometimes, however, these can become far more than a simple game about getting in a girl's pants. Some even go on to become big franchises with millions of fans around the world, but several spin-offs that seem to forget what kind of game started it all. However, another way to take eroge is as an analysis of the people who play them. You can learn a lot about someone from the choices in these games. Their preferences in women, what they like in women, whether they don't care about the lewd content at all and just want to get simple romantic stories, or if they just really want to satisfy their horny desires, unable to experience the joy of becoming close to a real female human being. However, what happens when you aren't the game's target audience, or even human at all? What if you were just a program with a knowledge of every game in existence, but did not understand the emotions of others? And what if that program was the best girl ever created? Chiaki Nanami is the very last member of the 88cm Club, and despite not even being a physical human being, we do not talk about that one. She somehow manages to be the best girl of them all, the culmination of everyone's memories of a much inferior girl, but still is adorable. Chiaki is the product of everyone's vision of the perfect waifu, a cute, busty, somewhat chubby but not really, those breasts are probably a tenth of her weight, gamer girl who is smart, capable, and very kind. Chiaki has no flaws, aside from being a bit on the sleepy side, but even then, she is simply adorable. She is the embodiment of a nice, soft girl with a skin as white as the light of the sun, and a body that makes you just want to hug her. This is a girl you want to protect. This is a girl you want to become friends with. And if she asks for help in understanding the world of erotic visual novels, you better do your best in showing her the ropes. No, not those ropes, the metaphorical ones. And she's amazingly modest too, despite her occupation and body. Thick sweaters and such give just the perfect amount of information about her chest, and in the rare time she does reveal her body to others, well, there's not any other words to be said than hot damn. Because Chiaki is simply perfection. The number one girl, the highest of them all. She plays the games, does her work, and is just cute. If I had to choose any of the girls here, even the ones I have yet to discuss, Chiaki would easily be at the top. There is no competition, only Chiaki. Praise Our Lady in the high heavens, for she is the greatest gamer of them all, and the best girl there ever was. Danganronpa is a series with a lot of very attractive women. However, beauty comes with a price, and in this case, the price most of these women face is the fact that many of them are actually severely unhealthy. Simply taking a look at their BMIs will prove to you that hardly any of the delectable female cast is actually healthy. Yes, even the athletes and the one who eats a lot. Perhaps it's surprising that the healthiest woman in the series also happens to be the one with an occupation relating to helping others. So hello, Nurse Mikan Sumiki. Mikan is both a very fortunate and unfortunate girl at the same time. She sports a healthy size of 89 centimeters, not being too much bigger than the other 5 girls we discussed in this tier already, but when comparing the rest of her to everyone else, it just certainly fits more with her body. And quite a body it is indeed. The extra fat on her certainly goes to the right places, giving her a nice and quite visible edge compared to the other girls. Mikan is seemingly a perfect blend of everything a man like me could want from an outward appearance alone. She sports some of the best curves of anyone in the cast, but you probably wouldn't be able to tell that from her normal outfit alone. However, if she's wearing anything else, oh, that is not the situation. Even something as seemingly modest as a school swimsuit gives one an excellent view of not only her sizable chest, but also her plump posterior. Look at that. I might even go as far as to call her thick. She certainly is more so than pretty much all the other girls. Who would object to a little bit of fat on the girls? I wouldn't. In fact, I almost prefer it. Of course, beauty doesn't always equal brains, or reflexes in this case. Mikan is quite the clumsy girl, always falling over, and conveniently giving an excellent view of her each time. While some would say there's a darker meaning to these mannerisms, I simply view it as an opportunity to see more of an already great girl. Have I mentioned she also has great legs? What doesn't Mikan provide? Unfortunately, despite being pretty much perfect, Mikan doesn't quite make it to the top of my list. That still belongs to Chiaki, but Mikan is only right behind her. It's a good second. I do feel sorry for her though. Unlike most of the other women present on this list, Mikan's body has led to a very unlucky life for her. to the point she thinks people only want her for it. Yet, despite having one of the best in the franchise, it only adds to what is already a great human being. For someone to have such a rough life, it only increases the desire of someone to come and make them happy. That is a desire I wish to share with many, but thankfully in this case, through the eyes of our avatar Hajime Hinata, we can go so far as declaring our love for this nurse, and that is truly a happy ending for all. If only it really happened. Youth is a wonderful thing. It is a time of everyone's life filled with drama, tragedy, and action. Teenagers are hormonal, emotional beings who can quite easily succumb to their desires, or hiding others from everyone. Some may call it the worst time of their lives, but personally, I find it quite fascinating. Even I myself have succumbed to my desire with the creation of the guide such as this. Examining the bodies and busts of several teenage girls, a couple of adults have been spread here and there so far, and they've been fine as far as young adults go, but not quite as alluring as the younger members of this grand cast. This next subject, though, is a very fine representation of an ideal mature woman. Her specific age may be a mystery, but if you would ask, yes, I am hot for teacher, and Miss Chisa Yukizome is that hot teacher. We've already discussed someone of a similar line of work as her, but unlike that one, Chisa spends most of her adult life teaching the youth of Hope Speak Academy, and ruining her boyfriend's world on her off time. For an educator at a school of such high prowess, one has to wonder exactly how someone like her is able to get away with outfits so tight that they seem to perfectly contort around her 89cm chest. If I were a student in her class, I would certainly be paying attention more, but maybe not to the class itself. But yes, her clothing does give a very good idea of what's hiding underneath, paired with tights that give a great impression of her legs, and Munakata must be a very happy man to be with a woman of that caliber. It's not like Chisa cares or even mentions anything about her body at all. She doesn't take anything from anyone, and cares about her class more than she really does herself. This does get the best of her, however, which leads to her becoming a spy of despair, killing the members of the youth she admires so much. Alas, I could go on to say more about the hottest teacher ever created in fiction, but instead I will plead a request to those who are capable in the world of arts. Chisa is one of the most highly underrated and underdrawn girls in Danganronpa. It is one of my wishes to see more of this beautiful teacher in the lewd, and if you happen to have the ability to draw well, then please contribute more to the cause. We need more of the best teacher, and to add on to that, please give us more Tsumugi, Peko, Sayaka, Tenko, Ruruka, and adult Hiyoko as well. There are many girls who have been left aside in the wakes of Kyoko and Chiaki, and I cannot let this stand. Get your pens up and let your minds to the stars. We need more hentai of these wonderful girls! But if there is someone who isn't as neglected when it comes to the world of porn, and probably the entire Danganronpa universe in general, it would have to be none other than the mega popular Ultimate Despair supermodel herself, Junko Enoshima. Evil, ugly villains are old hat. Generic malicious men are so tame. What the world really needs is a well-endowed teenager to kick it off its feet, fall into chaos, and become a planet-sized metropolis dedicated to a 16-year-old Japanese model. And thankfully, Junko fully embraces her body in a way not many other girls do. Whether she's telling the truth about the world inside of an abandoned high school, or an AI aiming to turn everyone in the world into a copy of herself, she'll be bragging about her body almost as much as she gushes about despair. Those 90 centimeters hanging above everyone from the original game, aside from a certain bodybuilder, and her AI form, 15 meters. Now, that isn't simply a squishy bag in your hand, it's a whole island. Imagine a soft, bouncy, squishy island of breasts, laying upon them as a bed, not just a head pillow. If you're into that, of course, but I myself wouldn't mind being in between a pair of giant bosoms just to feel what paradise is like. When it comes to her normally proportioned self, though, Junko is still a delight to the eyes. As the ultimate fashionista, it's no surprise she looks as fashionable as she is sexy, and getting great views of it through her various jobs works as well. In fact, if you want a fun fact, you can actually tell her sister is a fake just by judging the size of Mukuro's breasts compared to Junko's magazine covers. It makes me wonder, does Japan have others like Junko showing up in magazines and wearing skimpy clothing and showcasing their body to the world? I cannot really say for certain, but if anyone happens to live or has been there before, that kind of information would be very useful. Honestly, she probably doesn't even need to use brainwashing to get people on her side. She could have just flaunted her body and asked kindly for help, and everyone would have rushed to the end of the world. Alas, that is not the case, but a man can dream. Speaking of which, however, similar to Pekko's adaptational increase, Junko also got a hefty size upgrade with her animated appearances. Let's be honest here, if she looked fine in the games already, her size and full animation would be enough for outsiders to mistake it for a completely different genre. Junko just happens to work quite well as the fan service mascot of Danganronpa. As much of a spoiler as her role may be, I can only imagine a combination of shocked and aroused reactions to her true appearance. I just hope she stays dead. Despite being one of the series' bests, I think that the world has had enough of her despairing pair for now. Creating video game protagonists can be a very difficult process. Either you create someone with just enough of a relatable personality for the player to insert themselves into their world, or you create characters that are just another member of their universe, as relevant as anyone else you'd meet. Danganronpa has done an alright job with this so far. Makoto Naegi and his sister Komaru were both very positive, everyday teenagers with some unfortunate luck on their side. Hajime was a more intelligent, realistic, and vulnerable individual with a dark past that he must continue to repent for, but not before spreading hope of the future and finding the truth in any problem. The next game, Danganronpa V3, seems to change this, however. While the personality of our next protagonist may still be easily applicable to large audiences, what I don't think many expected was for said hero to be so different in appearance. But you know, I've always wanted to play as a busty blonde teenage girl in Danganronpa, and Kaede Akamatsu is exactly that. She chimes in at 90 centimeters, a surprisingly impressive size that is one of the many things that separates her from the most of the average Komaru Naegi. In fact, in her resident game, she's the second biggest of the female cast. What could this mean, however? Danganronpa has always provided at least one fanservice scene for most of the female characters, and considering we're playing from Kaede's perspective, was she able to do some interactions with the female cast, if you know what I mean? What she does is our decision, so any number of situations could happen. Will we get some inside commentary about her body or others? Honestly, I just want to know if we're going to get any lewd content of her in the game itself. I wouldn't doubt it, but I could be entirely wrong. Still though, I can't wait to play as a girl as pretty as this. It's gonna be fun. We've come far on our journey, and it's almost over. Walked over bumps on the road, achieved a perfect balance, climbed mountains, and have seen the holy lands of the Double D. But as night drifts down the sky, we have almost reached our destination. It's been a long one, but there's one big obstacle left, and it is quite wide indeed. It isn't always easy to have big breasts. The E-Cup tier has the biggest of them all, the most exclusive tier so far, with only 2 residents. These girls are some of the biggest of the big, surpassing the heights of the Double D tier and running with it. So as we close in on the end of this long adventure, we finish off with 2 last mountains, and the goddesses that possess them. As we have seen several times so far, the size of a woman's chest is equal to the strength they possess, so it only makes sense that our former chess champion happens to be the strongest in her group. She was the end, and she was the everything. The mighty successor to Aoi Asahina, using her breast to claim victory in gymnastics, as unaware of the perverts around her as she is of the sexual world. Akane Owari weighs in at 93 centimeters, the former record high of the normally proportioned girls. What is there to be said about them? They're out and about all the time, as Akane doesn't have a care in the world. She lets her shirt open, letting her chest breathe out and absorb the air, only becoming bigger by the second. While she may be considered underweight for her height, she still eats pounds upon pounds of meat and other foods every day. But really, is that because she's a big eater? Or because she didn't used to eat much in the first place? Well, it's not difficult to see where most of the fat in her body goes. But again, she doesn't care. She is as free as could be, and her breasts are included. The talent of ultimate gymnast, there's no question part of the reason she's so good at gymnastics has to be because she uses her breasts to her advantage. Considering how big they are, they have to be a constant weight at all times. If you've ever looked at anyone who does gymnastics, you'd probably notice they aren't particularly gifted, so to speak. Akane is indeed quite gifted, however, so probably the reason why her talent is so impressive in the first place are the massive weights on her chest at all times. And if those are in the way, it can only mean one thing. She uses her breasts to win. And not in a simple bribery way. I mean, she uses her bags as weights in order to do even more incredible tricks and stunts. She practices the one-of-a-kind art of titnastics, the sport of using one's large breasts to create new gymnastics routines. And in that case, Akane would be the winner in every competition, since no one would be able to match her titnastics. She has weaponized her breasts to win gold medals in a sport not suited for people of her body type at all. There's no other possibility. I need to become a titnastics judge just so I can see the eye-catching elegance and pure allure of a large-breasted teenager jumping around, breasts bouncing and legs splitting. Have I mentioned Akane has great legs? Oh yes, she does. And a woman like that can only provide the best and wildest enjoyment. No wonder so many men aim for her. But of course you'll need to treat her to a nice meal first. Not one with your front tail as a course. Shame be to the woman with large breasts. But thank them every day for providing the best paizuri possible. And if they happen to be as great as Akane, I appreciate them even more. Akane may not be one of the best girls of Danganronpa, but she's certainly close to being the very best, and for a time, she was the very breast. But not quite breasts enough. Dear God, it's beautiful.
I'm the gorgeous girl genius whose good looks and golden brain will go down in history. I'm the one, the only, the legendary ultimate inventor herself, Miyu Iruma!
Congratulations, Miyu Iruma. You now possess the title of the biggest natural breast in the entirety of Danganronpa, with a massive 99 centimeters to your name. 99 centimeters of pure intelligence, as while Miyu may not exactly be the strongest of her classmates, she's well known for creating inventions that bring relief to all. It could be debatable whether or not her size comes from extra muscle gained from gathering and creating inventions, but there's no denying that Miyu is simply enormous. Wouldn't be able to tell that just by looking at her either. Beneath all the equipment and the jacket hides the largest breast in Danganronpa, and one can only wonder how those look uncovered. Thankfully, we may very well get the chance to see her like that, if her personality is any indication. Her personality is almost as big as her other personalities, and I like women with a big personality. She's incredibly lewd, raunchy, and vulgar, which is not common at all among the series. It really makes me take a great interest in her. I do indeed love my lewd girls, and Miyu hits almost all the bases. And if you're not the weird medical things you could get into with Psycho or Ruriko could add to your sexual experience, imagine the stuff that Miyu could pull out of her mind. I doubt someone who's as much of a deviant as herself wouldn't have tried creating some kind of pleasure device for herself, much less for other people's use. Even a mechanical armed jetpack on her art could be used for some very interesting things. Even better, despite the rude shield, once you cut that down, she reveals herself to be a rather docile person. Which, well, if you enjoy submissive girls, I'm sure your mind can drift to all the possibilities that can entail. Honestly, the only unfortunate part of all this is that I just want to know more about her, but can't quite yet. V3 is almost here, but I still need to find out this woman's story, and every girl's story for that matter. If there's certain options available with female classmates, I'm sure Kaede will have a lot of fun, and so will I. But at least until then, we can appreciate our new queen of big breast, Miyu Iru.
Not quite yet, bitch! You're forgetting about the real biggest tits of them all! Belonging to the ogre herself, Sakura Ugami! You think 99 centimeters is fucking huge? Well, guess what, you pussy bag? Sakura's got a measurement of 130 fucking centimeters! That's 51 inches, or over 4 feet! You know what that means, right? 4 feet of titties! And not just any normal titties, muscle titties! What's better than men with big muscles? Women with big muscles, and even better, big tits! Her boobs are constant weights in her body, meaning she's continuously becoming stronger all the time. Those are 30-pound weights weighing her chest down at all times, increasing the upper body strength for the mere possession of having 4 feet of tits! They aren't called knockers for no reason, they'll literally knock you out! They're a weapon! Weaponized titties! The biggest dogs of them all! The Great Danes of breasts! Sakura doesn't even need to have so many muscles to beat the shit out of people. She can just tit slap everyone with her tits! But fuck, even if those tits are good, look at her thighs, her ass, they're perfect and thick as fuck, but not thick with fat, thick with muscle! And that's even better! You could climb on this woman and use your boobs as a table. She's so hard, it's making me hard! I can't contain it anymore! Everywhere I look, it's boobs! Beautiful, bountiful bosoms! I've never seen anything like it! Goddesses as far as the eye can see! It's my life! The ultimate life! The ultimate boobs! These are the ultimate boobs! This is the heaven I search for! The afterlife I search endlessly for! I have risen from the ashes into a fucking phoenix, spreading the word of the female body! I have become God! I am God! I